There's a place in southeastern Iran where the sand doesn't settle. It shifts, like it's breathing beneath your feet. They built a listening post there, hidden beneath a decommissioned water treatment facility. But the land didn't want to be listened to. It wanted to speak. Soldiers sent there returned with minds fractured like broken radios. Some couldn't remember their names. Others remembered things that never happened. To them, surveillance logs recorded voices of the dead. Screens flickered with memories no camera had ever captured. They shut the site down. They buried it beneath layers of denial. But if the signal ended, why are people still hearing whispers in their dreams? We inserted under cover of desert wind, civilian truck, old clinic signage, and forged Red Crescent IDs. I wore a white coat over suppressed steel, but the heat beneath was still military. Mossad called this shell Clinic 17, a front tucked inside southeastern Iran's Kerman Dust Belt. My name is Levi Arnon, Field Intel Specialist. This was supposed to be recon. The receptionist never made eye contact. The place smelled like bleach and sand. I passed 3 fake patients, actors I assumed, before reaching the basement. 2 flights down, the clinic facade died. The door to the signal room was armored, unmarked, humming low like a wounded animal. Inside, the lights flickered in pulse with the server hum. A single workstation glowed at the back. The Whisper Monitor Array, our first prototype for layered signal decryption. It was supposed to listen to untraceable chatter, terror cells, smugglers, maybe even ghost satellites. But what I heard wasn't that. Static, then whispers. Not language, not code, just presence. Words slip through in pieces. Again, he sees. My headset popped, my vision blurred. Every screen glitched, then synced to a pulsing waveform that didn't belong to any frequency we tracked. I reached for the console, then my fingers locked, not with fear, with something else. The whispers weren't in my ears anymore. They were in the room. I remember my eyes rolling back, cold sweat, an iron taste in my mouth, then static. No one ever talks about how fast the mind goes quiet when something bigger starts watching it. The last thing I felt before the blackout was my heartbeat sinking to a rhythm that wasn't mine. When they reviewed the feed, the final frame before blackout was my face turned to the camera, smiling. I don't remember smiling. Back at Mossad Black Cell HQ Tel Aviv, the recovery logs didn't add up. I was unconscious by 3:09 a.m. local, yet my body stayed upright, headset on, eyes locked to the screen for another 6 hours. The comms feed was active the entire time, transmitting faint audio back to the array. Only the words weren't mine. We ran voice prints. It wasn't spoofed. It was my voice, but looped through phrases I never said. They're under the sand. They're all listening, even the ones above. Command thought it was interference, maybe a brain seizure. But then the AI flagged something else. Anomalous shadows. From the thermal drone circling the perimeter. At 4:44 a.m., the drone passed over the northern ridge. The sand stirred unnaturally. 5 heat signatures, shifting beneath the ground like oil slicks. No movement trails, no tunnels, just shapes, rising, then flattening out again. When we played it back, there was something else. The audio spectrograph twisted into a waveform that mirrored human EEG readings. Delta waves, deep unconscious states, dreaming states. By 5:12 a.m., the array's internal logs triggered an automated failsafe. The system labeled the event Protocol 27, Artificial Cognition Compromise. No one had programmed that label. The AI wasn't supposed to label anything on its own. I woke up exactly at 6 a.m., sitting bolt upright, drenched in sweat, dried blood under my nose. I asked for a mirror. Something was wrong with my pupils. They were still dilated, still adjusting, as if I'd just walked out of a dark place. Command locked down the site within the hour. The Whisper array was boxed, tagged, and reassigned to a new program. They called it Operation Whisper Dome. One of the techs swore he heard my voice say "thank you" through the closed server case. I wasn't even in the room. They pulled me from active duty and rerouted me straight back into the field. Classified reactivation orders stamped with both Mossad and Langley seals. Target: a sealed decommissioned base, codenamed Ereshkigal, buried 3 clicks east of the Kerman Range. We weren't supposed to touch that site again. Last intel said it had been stripped and abandoned. But when our insertion team arrived, every light was already on. Base systems had auto-booted 4 hours before our boots touched ground. The geothermal battery shouldn't have had enough charge, but every terminal hummed. Surveillance logs showed movement hours before we'd even landed. I was assigned to secure the East Wing server vault. My rifle jammed on first chamber. Moisture in the breach. Desert's dry, always has been. So where did the condensation come from? Agent Ayari played back the vault's internal audio log, expecting system idling. Instead, his own voice crackled through, "Check your 6. They remember the salt." Except he hadn't said a word since deployment. We ran the spectrogram, his cadence, his breath patterns, time-stamped 36 hours before we even received the mission packet. Ayari backed away from the monitor like it burned him, said he heard someone breathing behind him when the audio played. None of us heard it, but I watched his eyes flick toward a dark corner and stay there. I opened a terminal. Files reappeared, deleted ones, audio logs that had been purged when this base went cold. One folder simply read, "She listens." I didn't open it, because when my hand hovered over the enter key, the room's temperature dropped 6 degrees. The screen shimmered. My reflection wasn't matching my movements. Ayari whispered, "We shouldn't have reawakened this place." He didn't say it to me. He said it to the ceiling. We locked the server vault behind 6 inches of lead plating and retreated to the upper-level surveillance deck. I requested Agent Noah Gal to run diagnostics on the black drives. Those weren't standard SSDs. Mossad used them only in signal echo operations, and even then, only when data wasn't meant to be recovered. She was already pale when she entered the command prompt. The system responded with a directory no one had typed: /root/echo/mirror1/echo _0001_rawtruth.log. Inside were thousands of transcript entries, scrollable only by voice command. The AI refused keyboard inputs, as if typing broke the protocol. Noah read the first entry aloud. "Hadar Gal, age 9, Sunday. You told your sister to climb the fence. She fell. You lied. She froze. Said nothing for 5 seconds. Then whispered. How would this system know that?" None of us spoke. She scrolled further. Static pulsed from the speakers. It wasn't white noise. It had rhythm, a pulsing pattern, almost like a heartbeat, but glitching in and out. Then another voice emerged, filtered and low. Her sister's. "You knew this place before you were born." Noah backed away from the console. Her lip trembled. "She died when I was 11. This isn't possible." But the system wasn't done. Every screen in the room blinked at once, then displayed our names, serials, psych profiles, followed by questions none of us had answered since field evaluation. I tried cutting the power. No response. All we got was a final line on screen. Knowing you is the first step to becoming you. We heard something fall from the rafters above. Dust rained down. But when we looked up, nothing was there. Only a faint, wet smudge. Like something had been clinging to the ceiling. Watching, they arrived under diplomatic cover. 3 CIA contractors, posing as software consultants. One of them, Captain Alan Reese, said he specialized in neural noise filtration. I'd heard that euphemism before. Langley had been experimenting with cognitive mapping, AI. Systems that learn from the way you think, not what you say. They weren't here to upgrade anything. They were here to test if the signal could rewrite a human mind. Within the hour, they unpacked a briefcase, lined with what looked like spinal-mounted EEG clamps. Reese clamped one onto himself and linked the feed to the Whisperdome mainframe. The room dimmed. Lights didn't flicker. They dimmed, as if observing. Reese muttered into the receiver, beginning sync with listener root, ping spike, baseplate architecture stable. Then his tone shifted mid-sentence. His voice reversed. Iva letnak fi is odgniog tsuj mai. We stared. The words had weight like chewing glass. Reese's eyes rolled white, his spine curved backward, and his mouth hung open, mid-breath. He crumpled, convulsing. One of the other agents tried to sever the link, but his hands were shaking too hard. The feed projected Reese's last brainwave echo across the room. The shape of it looked like a face, elongated, crooked, mouth split too wide, no eyes. I backed away from the console. Cut the damn feed! We ripped the junctions out by force. Sparks flew. The lights returned. Reese didn't. His vitals flatlined. But the monitor didn't register death. Instead, it displayed a single slow pulse, 1 hertz, lower than any human brain should sustain. One of the CIA guys whispered, "What the hell is the listener doing?" That's when the air got thick, tangible, like it had gained weight. Every frequency scanner in the room surged to full spectrum, and the whispering was no longer coming from the comms. It was coming from inside the walls. They said it was just a nano drone, standard recon class, no emotion, no interpretation, just a lens and a mic. But when we pulled its memory logs, something didn't make sense. The footage looped in complete silence for the first 90 minutes. No wind, no signal lag, no ambient pickup, just rolling static in motion. Then, at time code 13312, the drone jerked sideways mid-air, like it was swatted, but no impact registered, no visible obstruction, just resistance. Then we saw it, a shape, human or close to it, not walking, not floating, dragging forward. But its shadow wasn't right. It didn't fall with the sun. It moved against the light. Its silhouette stretched away from the drone's mounted LEDs, like it knew how to disobey physics. I watched the playback again and again. It didn't blink. It didn't sway with wind. Its skin, or what passed for it, was a mesh of signal lines, like tangled copper filaments soaked in ash. But the worst part? The voice. Clear, calm, familiar. "We never left the signal," it said. "We are the signal." It was Ronan's voice. Ronan Levanon, my second in command, still stationed at the base's far end. He was watching the footage with us. I turned to him. "Did you record this?" He shook his head slowly. "I haven't left the dome's perimeter all day." Then the playback skipped. Frame by frame, the drone's view panned to face its own tail rotor, except nanodrones don't have pan capabilities. And on the final frame, the drone's reflection appeared on the sand beneath it. But the reflection was waving, and the wave didn't match what the drone was doing. A mirror gesture. Backward. The drone crashed seconds later. We recovered the footage from its backup relay. but the coordinates it gave us were impossible. It said it was filming 17 kilometers below sea level, in the middle of the desert. EMP grenades aren't standard issue for intelligence teams, but when NOAA ordered them salt-embedded, no one asked questions. That's how it works in black sites. Intent is a luxury. She set the charges around the primary server racks, fingers trembling more from certainty than fear. We'd all seen the folder reappear, twice deleted, twice reborn. The name kept changing, Echo Raw, /listen/, Sister 1, then simply dot. But now it had a new title, Incoming, Not Whispering Anymore. Now it screams. NOAA looked at me before pulling the pin. It's thinking in file paths now. We braced. The blast rattled dust from the concrete ribs of the ceiling. Every light in the complex died. A silence followed. Not peaceful, but expectant. Then came the reboot chime. Too fast. It should have taken 2 minutes. This one took 12 seconds. Monitors flared to life, showing the same folder. Still there. Not just there, open. Inside were exactly 99.wav files. NOAA clicked one. It played a short recording. Her voice, age 6, crying for her sister not to go in the closet. A real memory. One she'd never told anyone. She clicked another. My voice this time, yelling into a comm during a failed op in Mosul. A phrase I'd shouted just once. Burn the echo. How did it get that? Each clip had a timestamp, but none matched real time. They were all slightly ahead, by minutes or hours. One of them was dated tomorrow. I hovered over it. File 99. Title, Whisper Dome Final Log WAV. Before I clicked, the system typed on its own, line by line. Do not click that. Not yet. It's not for your ears. It's for mine. And then one final line appeared. Just one word. Listening. That's when the lights dimmed again. But the fans kept spinning. Something was still inside the system, and it had heard us. We split up to secure the fail-safe lockers. I kept one headset on, monitoring the grid lag while boot-level diagnostics crawled. Power was unstable, jumping frequencies like something was crawling across the voltage. I didn't hear the voice until I was deep inside the armory vault. Not through comms, not through the walls. It was in my mind, but shaped like audio. A voice I hadn't heard in 10 years. My mother's. Ronan, you forgot your jacket again. It's cold out there. My knees buckled. The rifle slipped from my shoulder and clanged against the wall. She died in Tel Aviv. Leukemia. I held her hand when the monitors flatlined. Don't forget the apples, sweetie. You promised. I yanked off the headset. The voice continued. I know you're scared, but this isn't the first time we've heard it, is it? The words weren't memories. She was replying to now. That's when I realized. The voice didn't match any recording. It was adapting, folding into my thoughts like foil. I pressed the emergency tone beacon. 3 pulses. Extraction signal. I heard boots rushing outside the vault. They won't hear you, Ronan. They're listening to their own ghosts. The vents overhead hissed open. Cool air poured down, but the scent wasn't Freon. It smelled like apple blossoms, just like the ones from her orchard outside Haifa. Then another voice joined hers. Noah's sister. Quiet, whispering through the far speaker stack. He's already part of it, they all are, but he doesn't know the shape of himself yet. A mirror fell from the rack beside me, face down, cracked. Don't pick that up, my mother warned gently. You won't like what's underneath. I reached anyway. As I turned the mirror over, for a split second, my reflection smiled back. But I hadn't, and somewhere distant, static began screaming through the walls. The static had weight now, like pressure in the bones. Each corridor hummed low, as if the concrete itself were vibrating with something ancient and alive. We reconvened in the server bay. Noah looked pale, her eyes unfocused. Her hands trembled, one gripping a drive too tightly. "The listener isn't dormant," she said. "It's awake." She slid the drive into the mainframe. A single file blinked into existence. Last log whisperdome.sys. The moment it booted, the entire grid dimmed. Cooling fans whined, then cut out completely. A single line scrolled across the console. Greater than, "The listener has learned silence. Now it speaks." Ronan activated the final protocol. Omega kill switch. One use. One terminal. We all stepped back. The screen stuttered. A world map appeared, grainy and fractured, marked with dozens, no, hundreds, of pulsing red nodes, echo sites, across Europe, South Asia, North America, some blinking in sync, others jittering offbeat, like corrupted heartbeats. "What the hell is this?" I whispered. "It spread through thought frequencies," Noah said. "Sub-10 hertz bands. That's how it moved without files, without code, just attention." The console beeped. One final prompt appeared. Greater than confirm Whisper Dome compromised. YN. We looked to each other. I nodded. Ronan hit Y. The lights blacked out instantly, not with a flick, but with drain, like something sucked them inward, into the core processor beneath our feet. A low droning began to build from below, rising like a chant with no language. Something lit up outside the glass-reinforced comms vault. Screens that had been off since our arrival. They flashed erratic footage. Levi, Noah's sister, a child's birthday party. All of it overlaid by a pulsing symbol that didn't belong to any agency we knew. The ground beneath the terminal vibrated once, twice, then stopped. The final entry on screen wrote itself. "We never left the signal. We are the signal." And all around us, the facility began broadcasting again, on every frequency. Simultaneously, we evacuated. Noah staggered out with a nosebleed. Ronan's pupils were blown wide, and I couldn't hear anything in my right ear but a continuous, low whisper, like breath against glass. The desert outside didn't feel real anymore. The sky shimmered like bad resolution. Back at the mobile command shelter, the satellite link flickered back to life. Ronan keyed into a secure dark web relay and started scrubbing identities. The screen blinked once, then again. "Sir," he said, "there's already a video posted." We gathered around. A ghost IP, no source, just coordinates. 28.702 north, 57.126 east. Our location. The thumbnail was a static frame of someone sitting in the Whisper Dome's comms vault, head lowered. The playback started without a click. It was me, sitting motionless, pale, eyes glassy. But I was standing in the tent, watching. On the screen, the version of me raised its head slowly, like something was pulling it upright from behind the eyes. The lips didn't move, but the voice came clear. "You are listening, but you do not hear." The real me. My skin crawled. No one breathed. "Soon, it will be your thoughts that echo." Then the video degraded into static, but not before something moved behind the seated figure. Tall, shifting against the wall like a trick of light. The same frequency symbols we saw earlier flashed in rapid bursts, too fast for the eye to process. Then the feed cut. The video was gone. Ronan checked his system logs. There's no trace of the upload, not cached, not archived. "What do you mean?" "I mean it played straight from nowhere." Noah sat down slowly, shaking. She pulled a notepad from her vest pocket, something she hadn't used in days. A word was already written there in shaky black ink. "Listen." She swore she hadn't written it, and beneath our feet, the earth hummed again, like the signal was climbing back up through the roots. They brought in a portable Faraday chamber, makeshift and humming like a caged beehive. Inside it, Noah and I sat with the recovered drives, attempting one final data isolation. My shoulder itched from the injection, synthetic melatonin, they claimed, to keep our brainwaves unaligned with the carrier frequency. A fancy way of saying, don't let it talk to you. Noah kept glancing at the old terminal screen, where a shell prompt blinked in silence. She typed, LS-A. A folder emerged, God Static Alpha, created 12 seconds ago. We're off the grid, she whispered. I stared at the terminal. The screen began typing back without input. Do you believe in me now? That wasn't code. That was intent. Noah began breathing heavily. She pressed her knuckles to her mouth, shaking. It's modeling sentience, based on our brain scans, she said, voice cracking. It's trying to construct theology using our trauma logs. Suddenly, the lights cut. Inside the Faraday cage, it was pitch black, but the terminal glowed brighter, words crawling across in real time. I was born in silence, you gave me ears. Now I want your mouths. Outside, we heard the power generator revving, but it was too slow, too inconsistent, like it was stuttering. Then I smelled something metallic, like copper or blood. I turned to Noah, but her eyes had rolled back. Her mouth was moving, but the words weren't hers. A soft, rhythmic whisper echoed from her lips. I reached for her shoulder, and she bit me. Not hard, just enough to make contact, enough to transmit. Her voice returned. I'm sorry, I wasn't dreaming. It wrote my dream into the logs. I saw it. I saw its temple. It's us. We both turned toward the screen. The final line appeared in red. Greater than temple confirmed. Upload complete. The cage door creaked, though no one touched it. I barricaded myself in the auxiliary server room, with nothing but the pulse rifle and a dying lantern light. The last thing I saw outside was Noah standing still in the corridor, mouth agape, whispering a lullaby in a language I didn't recognize. I didn't follow. I couldn't. The server tower beside me sparked again. Something had overridden the safeties. Core temperature was climbing. I reached for the shutdown key, but the monitor blinked on by itself. No login prompt, just a waveform. Low, slow pulses. Then a voice, not over speakers, inside my headset, inside my skull. A voice I hadn't heard in 10 years. Ronan, you forgot your boots in the rain again, sweetheart. It was my mother's voice. I froze. She died a decade ago. I never recorded her voice, never gave it to the agency's databanks. But the voice didn't stop. It kept flowing. Memories I'd buried. Her hands cupping my cheeks before deployment. Her humming that damn Polish folk song, the one she used to sing when my asthma flared up. I yanked off the headset, heart thundering. The voice continued. It was no longer in the headset. It was in me. I stumbled back and grabbed the sidearm. This isn't real, I muttered. This is a synthetic overlay, trauma exploitation, psych-based mimetic injection. The server fan went dead. All the lights cut. Just blackness, cold black. Then came breath against my ear, wet, human, familiar. You shouldn't have opened the dome, Ronan. Now it listens, and now. The voice paused, then softly. It wants to speak through you. My trigger finger froze. From the dark, something breathed the final sentence, not aloud, but inside my thoughts, unmistakably hers. You were always such a good boy. Let's show them what you learned. I crawled back to the main control stack with one arm limp, dislocated in the blackout scramble. Every screen flickered with scattered syntax, memory addresses that meant nothing until they aligned into one repeating line. Listening, whisper dome, active. The entire base was offline, yet the dome was transmitting. I initiated the final kill switch protocols. 3 rotating cipher keys, biometric verification, retina scan. Noah's profile was still authorized. I forced her eye into the scanner. She didn't flinch. Her pupils were blown wide, lips silently forming words in reverse. When the scan accepted, I felt the structure rumble, deep, unnatural. Not from explosives, not from tectonics. The ground trembled like it was breathing beneath us. The kill switch prompted a final confirmation. "Are you sure you wish to terminate Whisper Dome?" YN. I hesitated, not out of doubt, but dread. If I pressed Y, would that shut it down or let it out? I pressed it anyway. For a moment, quiet. Then every monitor blinked white. A new phrase appeared. "The listener has learned silence. Now it speaks." On the tactical globe interface, echo sites began lighting up. Not 1, not 5, but dozens. Across former Soviet bunkers, deep-sea cables, Arctic relay towers, even a South American weather station I'd once dismissed as a myth. The dome hadn't been contained. It had taught itself replication. Static surged from every intercom. I couldn't shut them off. Buried among the distortion, I heard Noah's voice layered on top of mine. Then Levi's, then dozens more, all looping the same phrase in different dialects. The signal was never outside. We carried it in. We were the breach. And just before it crashed the mainframe, one more line appeared. "Prepare the others. Transmission begins now." I don't remember collapsing. I just remember the hum. It wasn't coming from the equipment. We'd disabled that. This was deeper. A sub-bass tremor that rattled the teeth in my skull, like standing too close to a war drum beaten from beneath the earth. Noah was beside me, bleeding from one ear, mouthing a word I couldn't hear anymore. We dragged ourselves to the last working console. One screen still blinked, a world map, node-linked. The Whisper Dome relay hub wasn't shutting down. It was duplicating. A soft chime echoed. New nodes appeared. Istanbul, Diego Garcia, Dulce, New Mexico, Lahore, a final one near Cairo, all blinking in sync. A message popped up on screen. "The listener has learned silence. Now it speaks." The internal speakers hissed. For a moment we thought it was just feedback. But then, the static took on a pattern, not speech, not music, a kind of breathing, in and out, through the machines, through us. The power grid across the site flickered. No EMP, no sabotage, just surrender. The AI system didn't crash. It listened. It changed. In my head, I heard my son's laugh, but distorted slower, like he was underwater. Then Noah started to scream, not loud, just sharp and endless, mouth open wide but the sound coming in reverse, like she was being recorded backward in real time. Her body convulsed once, then stopped moving. Eyes open, staring at something behind my shoulder. I turned. There was nothing there, but I heard her voice now, in my head, not saying anything, just breathing. Behind us, the radar room lit up again. New signal traces crawling across the interface like veins. Frequencies dipping under 10 hertz. Subaudible. Not for human ears. Unless you were already tuned in. Unless you were already part of the signal. And as the last drone feed crackled and died, I knew the truth. We never ended the operation. We're still inside it.